Super Monkey Ball 2. Oh boy. So last time we took care of the beginner and advanced difficulties. You know, those were relative walks in the park. But, so for this session, we're going to be picking Gongon. He's kind of like the Knuckles of Monkey Ball. You know, tough guy. Sort of a role to the main character, Ai, who's like the Sonic XB, I guess. Anyways, oh man. Alright. Expert and Master is what we're going to be going over today in this part, as well as their extra stages. So, Super Monkey Ball 2's Expert difficulty is probably the first instance where, at least at first, I would say it's easier than Monkey Ball 1's Expert difficulty, which, in retrospect, was rather front-loaded, like most of the difficult levels in Monkey Ball 1's Expert Challenge mode is like in the first half. There are some hard ones in the second half there, but like by comparison to Monkey Ball 2, not really. Monkey Ball 2's Expert difficulty starts off pretty much like right after. I wouldn't even say the tail end of it advanced, because, you know, that would be leaping off of like Arthropod, which is a pretty tough level. Even when you know what to do, it's a tough level. So it's actually more like carrying off the middle of advanced, I'd say. This one is another level that's kind of deceptively hard, although it's probably just a little early in Expert. This melting pot probably should be placed closer to the end of Expert. Because you gotta have the right timing, but even if you don't have the right timing, you can get thrown off like crazy. I like this one though, Mad Shuffle. So this is another switch level. Probably wasn't necessary. They should have just had it be one speed. Anyways, you time it right. You get on one side, and then after a while, if you memorize the cycle, you can get to the other side pretty easily. That level will kind of sort of train you for a level later on called Momentum. Sort of. We're not going to be seeing that for like 20, 30 something levels, crazy like that. Like I said, Monkey Ball 2's Expert difficulty is a bit more of a consistent difficulty. It's actually pretty solid for the most part, I'd say. Yeah, so this first bonus is a little annoying. You only get 60 seconds. You're not going to have enough time to get every single banana, but getting every single banana does not auto-clear the bonus level in Monkey Ball 2 or Deluxe. Well, if a bonus level doesn't have a goal, collecting every banana will auto-clear it. If it has a goal, for the most part, it's not the case, for sure. It might be a little inconsistent there. But if there are a lot of bananas to collect, I guess it makes sense to just collect as many as you can and get to the goal with some time remaining, so you still get score in addition to your bananas. I don't know. A good strategy for Expert difficulty in any Monkey Ball game, though, is go in with as many lives as possible. Don't be ashamed. It's alright. And just try to get bananas to keep your life count topped off. I find that Monkey Ball 2 is a little less generous with bananas than Monkey Ball 1. Jump Machine's a really cool level, by the way. It's got 3 different goals, but the red goal is at the very top and it's very hard. This level's a little deceptive. Zigzag slope. Some of these slopes are steeper than others, and you may not be able to tell that until you get on it and find out it's too steep for you. And then it's too late. That's why this is an Expert level, but it's early on. I find this one to be pretty nicely positioned, although it might have been better for late advance. This is a wormhole level. We already did one earlier at the start called Wormhole. Apparently those are pretty much exclusive to Expert and onward. I actually don't recall if they're even in any of the Master stages. But anyways, I attempt to do this one way and I fail it because it's Monkey Ball 2, Monkey Ball physics. You gotta work with what you can. So you gotta find the right side to fall off of here to get on the goal, and I still make it with the timer. This is pretty... Okay, this one though. Forget tower. Toggle. Look how many lives I lose. This one is tough. But believe it or not, you can brute force it. It's really tough to brute force it, but it is possible. That banana bunch is also a little risky, but I would go for that risk in Expert. just so you keep your life count knocked off. Yeah, Toggle is like the hardest level in the first 10 of Monkey Ball 2 Expert. We also went through, like, from the jungle aesthetic straight to the boiling pot aesthetic. We skipped 2 aesthetics. And we're about to have a new one coming up here. Might get through the dark Pachinko. I will say this is a lot better of a Pachinko level than the one in Mario Sunshine, though, and I don't get the gold, so I got a little frustrated. But you don't lose a life, like, you just lose points. Actually, big word. So this is a Switch level and a wormhole level. Welcome to the combination, and also welcome to the Clock Tower Factory background theme. This is actually World 8 in story mode, which is a lot later compared to the Expert difficulty. But it's also a really good music track. Matter of fact, why don't I let you guys listen to it for a little while? Yeah, I figured I'd do that just to give myself a little hydration right there. But Punch Seesaws is a pretty cool level. Really easy for Expert though. There is a green goal you can go for. It's a little harder. I think the seesaw for that one's a little more loosey-goosey. See what I did there? And then you got this level called Opera. I'm not sure why this level is called Opera, because this was like a decade and a half or more before Opera GX. You know, that browser that you see advertisements for on YouTube all the time. I don't think this is a reference to an actual opera, unless it's like the stairs in an opera house maybe, but then wouldn't this level be called Opera House instead of Opera? I don't know. Not a fan of it though, because it's really slow. Because if you go too fast with these steps, you'll just bounce off, and then you'll have to do the whole freaking 45-50 second level all over again. You probably could brute force this, but you can't brute force it from the start. You have to like make some progress, and then you can try to brute force it, I think. And then you have a level like this. Again, it looks hard, but if you just land on the platform and kind of chill with your control stick movement, you'll eventually get the goal. Just gotta watch your position with the bananas. That's why the bananas are there. This is a pretty good level. It's called Tears because there's 3 different goals. Good luck getting anything but the blue goal, and even for the blue goal, I'll wish you good luck, my friend. You do get a good bit of space to work with, but the issue is that these wires are also at a bit of a slant, so you can't just willy-nilly move your control stick like you normally would. You also have to push against gravity a little bit, which is annoying. Alternatively, you could do the red goal wire and then fall down to the blue goal or the green goal, but why would you do that? Especially if you're like me and I'm trying to show off every level. Well, actually, I guess that would be the ideal way to show off everything that level has to offer, but good God. I'm working with old control. Either I have one busted Waveburn controller, and I don't say busted because it's old. It actually works pretty good. I mean busted, like, it's surprising how good it still is after so many years. By the way, I lose a lot of lives here. Narrow Peaks is not a hard level if you take the left back, but I was really gung-ho. I kept trying to go to the right path to get all the bananas. Yeah, just play it safe with this level. Just take the left path. Position yourself right and go forward. This level can be hard, but once you position yourself correctly, it's really not that bad. You can do it pretty easily, I think. Funny enough, no wait, I'm thinking of levels later on. This level's pretty cool, Detour. So this one's a wormhole level. You basically go through the wormhole a bunch of times to build up speed. And if you build up enough speed, you can actually launch off the ramp to get to the green goal. I've done that a couple times, but it's pretty tough. It's just easier to go through the blue goal. You don't need to build up speed for that, though. Matter of fact, it might be better if you slow down a little bit like I did there. Yeah, so it's a good thing to do in the story mode, because that level's in story mode. Okay, but this is Switch Inferno. How many lives did I lose? 4. Okay, that's reasonable. Yeah, this is a trial and error level. You gotta hit the right switch that gives you the goal. Let's see if I can't memorize this. That. You get just enough time to get to the goal, and there's a switch. There's a switch right in front of the goal that you're probably gonna hit. It's really annoying. Something else annoying about goals, especially in Monkey Ball 2, is the party ball. Freaking, sometimes you just get hit by the party ball or it stops you in your place. It's really annoying. This is a solid bonus level, Earthquake. No bottomless pits thrown about. It's only just for one. It's hard to get bananas, but you can get the goal pretty easily and get your points. You might care more than bananas. I would say an expert, you want bananas more than points to keep your life count in good shape. I wish I had done that, because by the time I got to the end of Expert Extra, I actually had to use a continue. So I wasn't able to unlock Master. I actually had to redo it behind the scenes to unlock Master, but it's whatever, because if you unlock Master, you actually wind up having to do Expert, Expert Extra, Master, and Master Extra all in one set of continues and lives. And I'm just like, I also wanted to use a different character, so I actually was kind of glad that that happened the way it did, because I was still able to unlock Master. Ooh, that's a good trick. That was an accident. That was a pretty good trick, though. I'm glad I could see that. But anyways, yeah, I'm actually kind of glad how this playthrough worked out, because good lord. I like Gon, but I also had the opportunity. I could have used one character for each difficulty, and I really wanted to do that. So, you can't really do that in Monkey Ball 1. I don't think you could choose the Master difficulty separately. I think in that one you do have to do it all in one shot, but since I'm still playing as Gon, here's a fun fact. In Monkey Ball 1's story, Gon is actually the bad guy. He's the one trying to get the bananas at the top of the tower, and he's in competition with Ai to do it. He's actually a pirate in the original Monkey Ball story, which I thought was pretty cool. Because Super Monkey Ball is actually an enhanced version of an arcade game called Monkey Ball. It's really funny that the series started off just being Monkey Ball. It became Super Monkey Ball on the GameCube, and then they just kept calling the games Super Monkey Ball instead of just Monkey Ball for short, which I would have been fine with, but, you know, now I just associate it, and the acronym for Super Monkey Ball is the same as the acronym for Super Mario Brothers. That's kind of funny. Alright, well, I'm a bit late mentioning this, but here we are in the bubbly washing machine aesthetic, which is actually World 7 in the story mode. So we're going backwards a little bit. We went from the clock tower to this. In challenge mode and story mode, they're flip-flop. But I actually find that the bubbly washing machine levels are generally easier. So this whole set of levels serves as a bit of a breather after some of those intense ones we just did in the clock tower, like Switch Inferno. They can be pretty tough. Narrow Peaks can be pretty tough. Cliffs, all those can be pretty tough. But most of these levels in the bubbly washing machine are not particularly tough, especially if you take your time, like this one block. If you just take your time and move forward diagonally across the platforms, you'll make it to the goal within the time limit. You won't get a very good time bonus, but you'll still make it through the end. That's what matters more in a challenge mode, I think. I think the difficulty or the mode where you should worry about score the most would definitely be story mode, because you can lose as many lives as you want, you don't lose points. You don't even lose bananas. You can actually get to 999 bananas in story mode. It serves no purpose, but you can do it if you want to. Who's gonna stop you? But yeah, the hardest level in this set, this one's pretty tough actually, Double Spiral, but it's a really fun one too. You have to go through the bottom part. I don't know why they let you go to the top. Nothing happens if you go to the top. You'll kind of screw yourself a little bit. But yeah, the hardest level of this set is like right before the bonus, pretty much. All these other ones, I overlooked it earlier, but Obstacle is a level that's tough to figure out, but once you figure out and know what to do, it's easy. It's just one of those kind of levels. Hierarchy. Oh yeah, this is what we're up to. Hierarchy. This one can be tough too. You have to drop through the holes at the top to land in the next set, and if you just don't move when you fall out of the hole, you can just fall straight through the bottom. I've done that a bunch of times when trying to figure stuff out. And actually the last floor, it's pretty tough. You kind of have to go from like one side to the other. But then you go through the goal, and bada bing, bada boom. it's another one of those you have to figure out, but it's not really a puzzle, it's a case of fitness. Welcome to one of my favorite levels in Super Monkey Ball 2, 8 Bracelets. This one seems impossible if you look at it, but if you go at it from this angle, like there's slopes, oh neat. All of a sudden this is like a really fun level. That said, if you do position yourself just a little bit in the wrong way, you can easily die here. And I got the green goal. I patted myself on the back getting the green goal right there. But yeah, I'm doing all levels, so I had to jump down to the blue goal. You know, it is what it is. I don't think I've hit the red goal in that level too many times. I think once or twice. And I'm sure I went through it because it was probably a playthrough I just did behind the scenes for myself. This is a pretty nice bonus level. It made me mad though when it happened like that, but it is a pretty good bonus level. Alright, so here we're about to go into the most interesting part of Expert. Not just because of the levels, but also the aesthetics. So the last two regular aesthetics we're going to go through that you'll see in Monkey Ball 2's challenge mode, all the other aesthetics are locked to the extra stages. That would be the space themes. The space theme and the base theme, which we've already seen in the beginner and advanced extra stages. Yeah, we're going through the last two of the regular ones from the story mode, so this is the volcano theme, which I do think is fitting for near the end of the expert difficulty. I actually agree with this placement a lot. I wouldn't have even batted an eye if this was like the last one to match up with Storm from Monkey Ball 1, being a rather intense backdrop, you know. But it's actually World 2 in story mode for Monkey Ball 2, so it's a little odd to go from World 2 to this. These are levels from World 8 in story mode. So yeah, it's a bit of a shock, I would say. To go from basically the first 10 advanced levels in story mode to smack dab in the later middle part of Expert. Enough about that, let's talk about the levels here. We have some real toughies and some real questionable ones like this one, Entangled Path. I am not a fan of this level. This is a switch level, so I guess that might be a factor. You can have it go fast to save a little bit of time. I recommend this, but don't keep it on the fast speed or you'll probably lose out on the goal. There's actually a green goal all the way far out that's possible to hit if you go on the right part of the path and just drop down to it. But like a lot of things in Monkey Ball, it's probably easier said than done, my friend. But the blue goal is easy-ish enough, but if you don't go through this fast enough, the path can actually jut out from under you, and you won't be able to get the goal. I kind of barely got that. I was actually rather happy I got that. I didn't think I was going to get it. Okay, but then you get a level like this, Totters, which is actually... I'm not going to say it's brain dead easy, but this is like early advanced level difficulty at first. And it's just randomly here for some reason. It's a bit of a breather. This set of levels in general is a little mixed up. Like this one's pretty tough, Vortex. Again, it's a switch level, but you have to get yourself on the Vortex platform and align yourself right to get to the goal at the end. But it's like, if you do that, it's not easy to align yourself, and it's really hard to get to the green goal. The green goal is on the top, the blue goal is on the bottom. And you do have to move your monkey ball a certain way to be able to stay on the platform without falling off. I almost fell off there, but luckily I was close enough. So you do that, and then we're about to do Warp. This, I'd say these two plus Momentum earlier. I already mentioned Momentum like really early on, or I might have mentioned it in the previous part. But no, I mentioned it earlier because Mad Shuffle kind of trains you for it. And Warp, this is like an advanced follow-up to a level from Monkey Ball 1 called Floor Bend, which is actually a really good level. Warp is also a good level, but it's more frustrating because you got all these bumpers that can really throw you off. I got really lucky there, I think. I got within time with it too. That was a pretty good run of Warp. But then after that, this level and the next one are like really easy again. A little harder than Totters. But you get trampolines, which is actually a fun level, sure, but it's really easy. Like, look at this. I mean, it's possible you could fall out if you're not careful. Like, that last platform is nothing but trampoline. Really? And then Swing Shack, which is a really oddly placed level. Right at the end of this set of Expert, near the end. But this level is like maybe mid-advanced difficulty at worst. I have lost lives this stage before, but not much. The hardest part would be like the end with that thin path. If you go too far, you're gonna fall into that hole. I guess that's really the only difficult part about it, to tell you the truth. And this is probably the most interesting bonus level in a concept, but it's also similar to Earthquake. You're probably not gonna get any bananas, so there's a switch all the way out here. It takes you almost 15 seconds to get to it. And you can't even watch the fighters fight. Go like in their foot. They're not physical objects. You just go in their foot. They're fighting, but you can't really watch them fight. And you kind of still want to go through the goal, is you want to get your points, you know. So it's kind of a good concept, but where's it? Anyways, coming up to the final 10 regular expert levels here, and it uses the whale theme, inside a whale theme from World 4 of the story mode. Which I know what you're thinking, wow, the 4th out of 10 worlds, and this is the one they choose for the final 10 of regular expert. I actually think it's not so bad, because World 4 in the story mode has launchers and arthropod from the end of Advance, so that was the first world when I played as a kid. That was the first world that stuck me for a long time, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that. So having that be the aesthetic, I think it's mostly coincidence, because I'm sure they did the challenge mode stuff before the story mode stuff. But it kind of works out, because you get here, and if you do story mode first and do this later, you're going to be like, oh no, all those painful memories are flooding back to me. That was a weird goal, though. Look at this, I hit the replay. I like hit the side or something. Chipped pipes, this is a pretty good level. You got a green goal and a blue goal. The green goal is pretty easy to hit, but again, I'm doing all levels, so what I should have done is that I should have gone for the green goal anyway, because there's a bunch of banana bunches there. So I actually made a little mistake here. I don't want you guys to follow my example here. Go for the green goal, but if you want to do all the levels, just drop down to the blue goal. You can do it pretty easy. Alright, Flat Maze is actually a follow-up to a level from Monkey Ball 1's Advanced Extra called Puzzle. I don't know if it was Advanced Extra or Expert Extra in Monkey Ball 1, but one of those. This is actually a follow-up to that. It's called Puzzle. And this one is a puzzle. It's a flat maze. It seems hard at first, but when you figure out that you can go over gaps with enough speed, you can find a path that gets you to the goal, and you may even be able to get there with the time bonus. But when I first did this level, it took me a while to get through it. But I eventually did find a way to get through it with like a few seconds left on the clock. So here we have Guillotine. I'm just kidding, I'm just messing you guys. I know it's pronounced guillotine, which is pretty cool. So sometimes when you see two L's in the English language, you pronounce it like with a Y. And then in Spanish, two L's I think is something else too. I don't know if it's the same thing or not. But that is a discussion that is neither here nor there. At any rate, it's another one of those levels where you just have to time your movement right and you'll get through it. I'd say this is probably a little easy for the late, so how late it is an expert, but it belongs in expert. This one is Corkscrew. This is actually kind of a follow-up to a level from the expert extra stages of Monkey Ball 1 called Curl Pipe. This is basically like the older cousin. And it's also double the length, time-wise and stage-wise. Almost fell off, but yeah, you gotta be really careful because there are holes strewn about. If there weren't any holes, this would be a really easy stage. So you just gotta watch out for that. Orbiters, this one you can brute force it. You see I lost like a life or two. But I had to brute force a way to get in here. It's not really holding forward the whole time. Close to it though. And then we have Twin Basin, which is just like... This one's also like kinda easy for being the second to last level. But the interesting one is actually going to be the final level for Expert, which we're about to come to. that last part of the Twin Basin can get you sometimes though, so I agree with it being an expert, but maybe not so. Anyways, air hockey. This is a classic level, so it can take a little trial and error, but 9 times out of 10, if you just hold forward off the starting platform and then hold upright when you land on the platform below, you'll hit that goal 9 times out of 10. I learned that a long time ago because I looked up a fact on GameFAQs, and there's like one guide that gives you like specific strategies for certain levels, like when to hold the control stick a certain way, when to pause, if that'll help out, and what time on the timer exactly you should do certain movements. Anyways, welcome to Expert Extra. I want to mention right here again, I think I mentioned it earlier, but I'll mention it again. To unlock Master, you do need to go through Expert and Expert Extra without using a Continue, which is actually really hard, because the Expert Extra stages are really hard. They're a lot harder than the Expert ones. It's a big jump. I mean, in Monkey Ball 1 it had some toughies too, but in Monkey Ball 1 they also keep reusing like 3 bonus levels that were there since the beginning, so those are always going to be breathers. So it is what it is there. That was a pretty good finish though. I usually finish Charge a bit quicker than that though, but that was still pretty decent. Strata. This one can be really tough. Again, if you don't have a good, decent control stick. Although even if you have a decent control stick, you also have to be mindful of your momentum and velocity. And knowing when to stop holding forward and when to start moving backwards. This level starts off kind of chill, because you see these are pretty wide platforms. You can't even call them wires yet because they're still pretty thick, but it's not going to take long where you're starting to get into wire territory, and this takes a lot longer than you might think just to get to the blue goal. Because yes, this has 2 goals. Look how thin this path is, and look how thin the path below is. This is nuts. This is nutso. But you know what? Welcome to Super Monkey Ball 2 Expert Extra difficulty. By the way, this level's called Puzzle here. I know I just mentioned a level called Puzzle earlier. This level's called Puzzle Monkey Ball 2, and Deluxe they change it to Square Dance, which I actually find to be a funnier title. So, yeah, Square Dance. Pretty easy though. That's a breather because this one is really annoying. Giant Swing is another one of my least favorite stages in the series. It's probably my least favorite stage. I guess it's not that bad, because when you figure out what you need to do, it's kind of cool, but what I hate about this level and what really breaks it for me is all the build-up. You spend like 15 to 20 seconds just to get to the platform where you need to be, when it would have been a lot better if you just started off the level right in front of the Giant Swing. If the level started off right in front of the Giant Swing, I would like it a lot, but you're probably going to fail it a lot trialing and erroring away to find out how to get to the goal there. You're just going to have to waste 15 to 20 seconds every time just to get back to the position and waiting for the right time. It's really annoying. So, stuff like that can be a make or break. So 5 Drums is a level where you just have to worry about your timing. For the most part. I can't believe I made it to the goal here. So many times I thought I forgot to cut out a death. But man, yeah, you watch for those dividers and you'll be pretty good otherwise. Free throw, this one's annoying because if you try to launch from the bottom of the launcher, sometimes you'll get double hit or double bounced, and you get launched way too far. You're not gonna. So it's generally better to try and launch from the upper part of the launcher and just try to bounce on the goals the best you can. Easier said than done though. I didn't get it that time, but maybe I'll get it this time if I start a little lower, but not too low, or again, you can get double hit. And then it becomes ridiculous. Alright, that's the first bounce. You bounce really high. And dunk it like Kobe. Oh man. I definitely pat myself on the back after that one. Alright, so extra 7 pendulums on switch stage randomly. Haven't had those in a while. This one's pretty cool. Again though, it's a matter of finding the right momentum, the right speed. You don't want to go too fast. But then after a point, you don't want to go too slow. Actually give you some freebie bananas. Pretty rare in Monkey Ball 2's difficulties. There you go, you got a banana bunch there. Usually I don't lose too many lives here, but that's because I figured out the pattern. It's like each set of pendulums moves faster as you go, and there you go. Pretty easy, like 20. A bunch of bananas is usually 5, but in Monkey Ball 1 and 2, a bunch gives you 10 bananas, which is pretty cool. Did you see how many lives I lost there? This is where we're going to start getting to some real problematic levels, okay? So, Conical Slider looks like a really cool level, and I still think it is a cool level. I don't know if this was me, or if it was a level, or if it was both. You have to move your Monkey Ball a very certain way, but you also have to know when to adjust, when to keep going forward, or when to start moving it back. What you gotta do is you're moving forward, and then you're also slowly moving the control stick upright, and then to the right, eventually. And you gotta go through the wormhole. Problem is, if you don't line yourself right at the end, which it might be an accident, it might be out of your control, you either will not have enough speed to go over that bump to get to the center platform, or you're just gonna fall off, and it's really annoying because it takes like 40 plus seconds to do that level in its entirety. On the other hand, construction is a little bit less frustrating. When you know the right path to do, which I was able to remind myself after only a few tries, unfortunately, I wound up using a continue, but again, it worked out okay because it meant I didn't have to do 4 sets of levels back to back with the same character and the same life and continue count. Thankfully, because, oh man, the master run, that wound up being really nasty. Rough to come up to it. Anyways, final expert extra level is a pretty cool one. It's similar to air hockey, believe it or not. It's even got a similar timing where you go forward and then eventually you want to go upright. You want to hit the goal. Basically, it's at the end of the train worm. You want to hit the goal right off at the end, while the goal is still like hanging over the air. And here you go. This is another thing you'd be locked out of if you did all of the difficulties back to back. You wouldn't be able to see the ending for the expert difficulty, which is different from the master difficulty. So we get to see an ending for every character, which is pretty nice. Like I said, I was a little frustrated that I forgot about I had to do the whole thing without using a continue. I was a little frustrated myself, but then I remembered everything else and all worked out. And again, behind the scenes, I did go back and unlock Master through the debug mode, which you can unlock with an action replay sheet. So that was pretty nice. Anyways, going to Super Monkey Ball 2's Master and Master Extra. I used to think that Monkey Ball 1's Master difficulty was harder, but playing the difficulties back to back, I realized that it's really... Monkey Ball 1's Master difficulty only has a couple of really hard levels that can be considered like the upper echelon of difficulty in the series, while all the other ones are just slightly harder than like Expert Extra in Monkey Ball 1, or even Monkey Ball 2 standards. And to be fair, things start off kinda chill in Monkey Ball 2's matchup. Kind of chill until, I want to say, the 4th level. Like swing bridges, okay, this is like kind of similar to some stages from earlier in the game. You get a little bit of a relaxing atmosphere. The only really tough part here is like the final swing bridge, but even then, not really. It's harder if you go to the other side to try and go for the green goal. But the level you skip, like level 3 is a level called Cylinders, which you can skip, but this is, believe it or not, if you're doing this level the normal way, it's pretty hard, like Master difficulty hard, but if you brute force it, it's actually kind of a freebie. So, I actually find this to be better than going for the green goal in swing bridges. Once you know what you're doing, of course, something like that takes a lot of trial and error. Now, this one was also a lot of trial and error. This is going to be the first Master level, I think, that will truly test your patience. Because you're going to see how you have to navigate around here. You've got platforms that aren't adjacently connected, so you have to go over gaps that are really loosely defined. I mean, you get a banana bunch there, but you need 100 to get an extra life, so it's like... And believe it or not, there's a hidden green goal at the bottom. You wanna know how you get there? You gotta land on top of one of those blocks. The moving blocks. Kid you not. Alright, so Notch was really bad too, because I forgot how to do it. And then, once I figured it out, I still needed a couple more tries just to get the timing right. But again, they do give you a bunch of banana bunches. It seems like Master's a lot better with the bananas than Expert is. But Master is only 20 levels. Expert and Expert Extra is 60. Alright, so now we're in the second half of Master. Intermittent is not that hard. You can try to brute force it by going straight down the middle, but it's really inconsistent to hit the goal when you do it that way. The way that I'm doing here is a little more, it's slower, but it's more consistent. Yeah, you just do that. So that's probably preferred, by the way. I'm playing as Ai, because he's actually my favorite character in the series, but not by that much. I kind of like all the characters fairly equally. Just that Ai edges them out ever so slightly, because whenever I think of Monkey Ball, Ai is the first character that comes to mind. After that would probably be Mimi, Gongon, or Gongon. Baby not so much, especially when you figured out the backstory for Baby. He's from the future, and it's like really weird. Although, he does remind me of the villain from Ape Escape, since they're both like the same fur color, so that's pretty nice. So the level we just did was called Long Tours. It's one of the hardest levels in the game. It took me a lot of tries to figure out the timing, but when you figure out the timing, it's pretty good. Here's a pretty good level though, Double Twin. This is kind of a gem, actually. I'm not sure if it really belongs in Master difficulty, especially this late. But, yeah, you get a bunch of banana bunches, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, this one was like my favorite Master level to play through in this playthrough that I did after so many years. I really enjoyed Double Twin. Again, it's the one where if you line it up right, you time everything right, do a little bit of finagling with the control stick, it's really satisfying to pull it off. And if I was a little bit more willing to risk things, I really wasn't, because I was losing a lot of lives at this point. And I didn't want to lose continues for 20 levels, but Master difficulty Monkey Ball 2, it'll do that to you. So, welcome to Clock Face. This one can be pretty annoying again, but you gotta time it right. If you time it right, you'll get to the goal. I don't think this is the path that I learned when I first played the game. I think I got pretty lucky there, actually, with that last bit. If you get through the 10 Master levels without using a continue, which you think would be easy to do, because you can have 99 lives, don't get so cocky, kid. If you do that, you get to the extra stages, and it doesn't start off that bad. Like, the first couple levels of Master Extra are roughly around the same difficulty as Master. This one, Variable Whiff, is deceptive. It looks easy at first, but right at the end you have to do a little movement or you're just going to fall right into the pit. And then this one is Striker. For whatever reason, whenever I get to this level, it reminds me of Mario Striker's games. Because I think when I first got to this level, it might have been like the same year Strikers came out in 2005. By that point, Monkey Ball 2 was 3 years old. Deluxe was already out. So it's actually kind of funny to think about. Oh man. Alright, so the third level, yeah, it starts getting back around to difficulty. I like this level though. It's O parts. Ooh parts. You gotta figure out the best time to go into the structure. It's kind of like 8 bracelets in a way. You line yourself right so you slope up to the goal. So it's basically like 8 bracelets older cousin. This level sucks though. As you can see by the difference in my score and my count. Planets is the first level where I start to think to myself, this might not be a good level. So through trial and error, you figure out that if you hold forward for a little bit and then just kind of leave the control stick alone, you'll bounce, but you may not bounce too far. You have to do a lot of trial and error to figure out the timing of the bounces, when to stop, when to go forward. Sliced cheese. This might be the worst level of the game. And I even got some feedback from people in a Monkey Ball Discord. I think they think this level sucks too. You can't go through the final holes without building up some speed. I've tried, and that's why it sucks. And then this level is just out of nowhere, and this level is nowhere near being Master Extra 6? Are you kidding me? This level is not that hard. This last part could be kind of tricky though, because you have the goal right on the seesaw. No. So this one is just, again, going the right time in the right place. Not really that hard, but I have had issues in the past where I wanted to go for the blue goal and I went to the green. But this level, probably not the worst level in the game. I actually think it's pretty nicely designed, but it is, oh my god. This is a slide level. The king of the slide levels. Where this thing is like sloped to the side, but you have to stay on the top. But because of the way it's structured, it looks like you're kind of going on the side the whole time. But you see the other side is completely flat. So if you fall on the other side, you're screwed. But you have to do it at the end because that's where the goals are. And the blue goal is fine. It's positioned vertically. I think the green goal is not. Oh my god. And this took so many tries, and it's a long level. You have to maintain your balance for almost 45 to 50 seconds. Like, oh my god, this level's stressful. I don't think it's a bad level. I think it's a really not good made level. That is a master difficulty level. This one I don't know if it's master difficulty, but it's really fun. Dizzy system. I don't know if I figured out a consistent. I think maybe when I first got here back in the day, I looked up on GameFAQs a certain way to do it, but I didn't really want to do that this time around. I didn't feel like it. I just kept trying to brute force it. This is a tough one to brute force, as you can see. I got lucky there though. But we need to talk about Nintendo. Really great company. They make a lot of great video games. But I'm talking about the stage. So it's the GameCube. It's a rotating cube. You have to line yourself up right. This part sucks because you get in that pit, you can't get out, and you're screwed and you lose a life. It's really frustrating. But in Deluxe, they actually replaced this with a dice. And that's a lot easier because you don't have to worry about no kill pits or anything like that. It's actually pretty consistent. What I like about this stage is at the end, the GameCube opens up, and that is the final goal. That, ladies and gentlemen, is my commentary for Super Monkey Ball 2's Challenge Mode. My favorite Super Monkey Ball game in the series. Really great game. You should look it up. Play Banana Mania 2 because they remake the levels from this game, and it's a pretty nice game in and of itself. It doesn't replace this though, but this is great. That's great. It's all great. That was a run. That was almost 45 minutes. I'm ready to go home, take a break. You guys have a good rest of your day, and see you next time for some other commentary. I do like how we go through a tour of a lot of the worlds though. This has been Lasley. Peace.